Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect our city and our constituents. And please continue to remind us that all we do here today and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to call this meeting to order on Tuesday, March 5th, 2019 at 6:33 p.m. Can I have roll call, please?
Alderman Braun.
Here.
Alderman Berube.
Here.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Here.
Alderman Tyler.
Here.
President Suzuka.
Here.
Also present Mayor Arthur Pappas and City Attorney Luke Brown.
Okay, at this point, Art, do you have any opening comments for the,
Nothing at this time, Mr. President.
all right. Seeing that you do not have that, if we will start with anybody that would like to speak on the agenda, tonight's agenda and only tonight's agenda, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Edward Smolinski, 1097 Sweeney Street, North Tonawanda, New York. Tonight I'd like to speak of what's on the agenda, item number III, the city clerk, the cell phone and the communication device policy. I have the letter that Mr. Parrish wrote here, and just to touch on the letter first. In today's day and age, I think cell phones are a necessity, whether we like them or not. Some people, I know that the common council has iPads. Some people might be Droid people. They might have their own cell phones. They're not used to it. To govern, to tell somebody they can use an iPad, but they can't use a cell phone isn't right. I, as a police officer, we kept the laws right on the cell phone. We had to look stuff up all the time. Lawyers in courts now, in front of a judge, look stuff up on a cell phone all the time. It's part of life. It's something that's unfortunately a necessity. Now, if somebody's up there on an iPhone playing Candy Crush, well, shame on them. They should be doing that. But it's something that is a necessity and is needed to have information at your fingertip. Secondly, the last line says, if this was instituted, there may be disciplinary action at the mayor's discretion. If I do quick political science 101, you go to our city charter, section 2.001, separation of powers. The mayor is separate from the common council. He's the executive, the common council is the legislative. They make the laws. The mayor cannot discipline the council cannot discipline the mayor. Separation of powers. All right. Also, quoting again the city charter, just stuff I'm going to bring up. Section 2.043, duties of the president of the common council. In there it says the president shall preside over the common council at such proceedings of the meetings of the common council. Basically, the president's got the gavel. He's in charge. He's the one that calls the shots. Moving on from there, section 3.027, city clerk treasurer, basically outlines the duties of the city clerk treasurer. 1, the budget. 2, he's a fiscal officer. 3, custodial of all the monies. 4, he collects the monies. 5, he distributes the monies. On line 7, that's more the treasurer part. On line 7 is the clerk part. He's to prepare the agenda for issue, record notices, persons throughout his designee, be present for all common council meetings. 2, basically act as a clerk of the common council. So he's a capacity to clerk the common council. He works for the clerk. Common council are all elected legislative people. You are the clerk. Layman's terms, you're the secretary, and they are kind of like the bosses in layman's terms. With that said, the clerk's duties shall record and all the bylaws, rule changes, ordinance, so on and so forth, and apply them to the books. So with that said, they are the legislators, you're the clerk. You have no legal authority to put on the agenda an item that requires changing a law, a policy as it's stated, to implement on the common council. You cannot put this on the agenda. You don't have the legal authority, the legal jurisdiction. That it's up, if you wanted to send an email out to your fellow councilman and say, hey, listen, I got an idea, let's not do cell phones, and they want to make a resolution and bring it up legally, you have to do that. But you cannot bring up a resolution that turns the law. That's for the legislators to do that. And I don't mean to be mean, I don't mean to be mean, I don't want to belittle anybody's social support, just trying to educate everybody here. So with that said, you technically, you can't really bring this up and vote on it the way this is. And the other thing too, with you being the secretary per se, your seat there as a secretary up here, when people talk and then you engage them, technically that's for the president to do, or a councilman. They're there to engage it. If he wants to defer to you and say, because you're an expert, say somebody's talking about treasurer, and then you jump in and, I know there's a microphone here, but then that's when you jump in and you engage the people and take it from there. For you to jump out and constantly tell, talk to people, it's not your spot. That's all.
So I'm gonna respond as a citizen, as the next person, if that's okay with you, President.
Sure.
I'm not gonna argue with you about your opinions on the cell phone policy, but I will ask, our city attorney to weigh in on the, legal side, as he is an actual legal expert, and I don't believe that you are.
I think any department head has a right to submit something to be approved for a code change, such as the city inspector has done today, the building code inspector. I think the clerk can request that the council draft and then approve, once it's drafted, a policy. I certainly think that's within his rights. Everything on the agenda is from a different department head. I'm asking for an MOA to be done. Are you saying I can't have that put on the agenda? I don't really understand the point of saying that he can't have things put on the agenda. I don't understand where that comes from.
No, it's, what it is, yes, several people, some people ask to use the bridge for, everybody, things can be put on the agenda.
Right.
But he cannot do it in a legislative fashion.
He's not. He's asking them
Well,
to,
I'm asking.
he's
the
asking
council.
them to direct me to draft a policy for their approval.
okay.
So I think that's his right as a department head and as a city clerk who is in charge of running these meetings. So I think that's well within his rights and his job duties.
So
So I would disagree with you.
I had a similar question about that upstairs too, and it still seems a little vague to me as to whether or not it's resolution, it says approval on it, what are we approving? There's some pieces in it that I'm not really sure about, and I would have liked to have it more discussed in a workshop
Right,
setting.
I mean, just the way it reads, I guess.
Right.
Approval for a policy, he's asking for an approval of a policy, and he cannot implement policies.
I think I'm asking for approval of the creation of a policy. And I
Maybe
was
it was
at-
worded wrong.
I'm sorry?
Maybe it was worded wrong on here, the way I read it. The way I read it is you're asking for approval of a policy. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on tonight's agenda and tonight's agenda only? Step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Bob Brennan, 333 Daniel Drive. Not to belabor the point, but just to expand on what Mr. Smolinski just said and what Mr. Brown just said. Maybe it was a Freudian slip, but Mr. Brown said that Mr. Parrish runs the meetings. I believe that's the job of the Common Council President. Now, in 38 years as a pharmaceutical executive, I've sat on many boards. And we've had clerks and we've had treasurer and clerks and secretaries. I think if one of them brought up to our board ever how we were going to do things, we would have laughed them out of the room. And I'm being serious about that. We were making decisions on $100 million drugs, and we had clerks there who were there to take the minutes and to provide agenda items. The tail's wagging the dog here, folks. Mr. Parrish has been here for 6 weeks. As I was reminded last week when I issued my complaints about the website and not being transparent with nothing being on the website. And I was reminded by most all of you up there that he's only been here 6 weeks. So still, the job isn't complete. Things aren't on the website, but yet we have time to draft a cell phone policy. You are all adults. He states in the press release, which I found really appalling that it was in the paper, that he's gotten complaints from residents. Well, if residents have complaints, they should take it to their elected official.
He's elected.
I am an elected official.
Appointed,
It's
though,
an
right?
elected position.
It's an elected position, but he was appointed by 4 of you up there just 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago. My point with all of this is you are all adults. If people have a problem with you, with what you do, they should come to you. Mr. Parrish is not your babysitter. What are you gonna do, stand in the corner if you get caught using your cell phone? I mean, that's what it feels like. When people read that press release, to Sonia's point, the word she used, backwards, sleepy, whatever, come on, we're adults here. We have to make a policy that we can't use cell phones and we can't pay attention? I mean, to me, that's just ridiculous. So beyond the legal aspect, of which I agree with Mr. Smolinski on, the whole idea really does not make this town look very good when others are reading about it. And I think
So
all
you're
of you,
against the idea?
I am absolutely against the idea. There were many times when I was sitting in a board meeting with Pfizer and I would have to look up things on my cell phone.
What would anybody here, except for possibly the city attorney, need to look up on their phone that they couldn't look up on their city-issued
Yeah,
iPad?
it was city issue.
Well, my argument too with the iPad was how terrible the Wi-Fi was, the reception, and it never seemed to work.
Also, the agenda is posted 4 days before the council meeting. That's not enough time to do research. You have to do it at the council meeting.
Well, if
Yeah,
someone
and-
brings up a discussion, you bring up a company or something that happened at a previous meeting.
Well, it's
I-
a city issued property that we should be using as to our paperless effort,
Right,
to
so
do this.
why is it a city issued?
because
Yeah, I guess that's the question, is
It
what's the
was
difference?
city issued back because we wanted to save on paper.
So,
This is why these were, I was delivered a packet this thick every week when
By
I first got on the
authorities.
council.
Yeah.
So we decided to save trees and we got iPads. And I've
Right.
had the same iPad for 5 years. And you're right, the agenda is posted, we are given it, almost everything on this agenda, has been discussed at a workshop. And if there is anything else that you need to know, we back and forth emails with the city attorney.
Well,
I see the cell phone policy as a courteous to the people, I said it last week, a courteous to the people that are sitting out in the audience. If I'm sitting up here like this, instead of listening to you, Mr. Brennan, or listen to anybody that comes up to that podium, I'm sitting here going like this on my cell phone,
But-
I think it's a courteous to sit here and
If
pay
you're up-
attention to
if
the
you're up
residents
there,
that are
Jim.
up here,
I mean,
having a conversation with the elected officials.
But-
my argument though is, for one, if Matt's bringing it forth, he's been here 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. I've been here not too much longer, a year plus that, and I've never heard a complaint.
well,
And in the 8 years that maybe Mr. Zetzilka's been here, any of you, and this is the first time that it's brought forth, it seems confusing to me, and I don't know if anyone in the audience wants to raise their hand if they think that council members are being rude on their phone, but I don't see an issue here. There are other issues we can be addressing, and if initially I brought up parliamentary procedures, I understand that that's possibly something that could be incorporated into it, but it's like, we haven't even got the 101 done yet. And then we're starting to talk about cell phone policies and other add-ons that really just complicate
I
things.
think he is bringing a complaint forward, and as that website stipulates there, we wanted people to fill out forms and submit complaints, and the clerk distributes those complaints. Now, he felt it important to bring it up at a workshop to make people aware that there was an issue there.
Who was the person complaining?
I don't really think he was.
Absolutely not. I don't need to.
Uh-huh.
I can
Was it
anonymously
submitted
complain.
on the complaints
I
online?
have received verbal complaints.
Mhm.
Well, Alderwoman Braun makes a very good point, that if you're sitting on the phone with the audience talking, that's rude, it's discourteous. but do you as an adult really need to be told that you can't do that? I mean, this is what's so
No,
disturbing about
No,
this.
I don't feel as an adult I need to be told that, but
It should
I
be
have
obvious.
witnessed, I sit on many board meetings, or board of directors too. I used to sit on school board, and I had people sitting as a school board member on their cell phones, and it was brought up. So that's where I come with the courtesy. I don't wanna be told that. I think if we come up with a policy that says our cell phones should be locked, in my purse, in the gentleman's pockets, wherever. It shouldn't be here. We have a city iPad, you can look things up. Everything that we're discussing here tonight is on our iPad.
And I just don't understand why
Everything.
everybody can't
And
go 2 hours.
if you
Right.
have a
Yeah.
problem with Mr. Parrish, bringing up the policy, there's no reason why one of us, councilwomen, could bring up, we can look into this policy,
Well, I
and
think
draft
that's part of the
something.
point, is
Okay,
really to define
so-
separation of powers up here, so there isn't this long,
But I
drawn
still
out
don't,
discussion.
So that can be brought up as
Mhm.
a separate policy that you can bring up at a
My,
workshop.
my other just question on this is, what is disciplinary action?
Well, that can be discussed when we draft the policy.
Um,
All I'm doing is putting the idea out there, and if one of the other council people here would like to take it and run with it, then they're more than welcome. I just think that's an issue that needs to be addressed. Thank you, Mr. Brennan, we're well beyond the 5 minutes at this point. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on any agenda item and the agenda item only, please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Brad Smith. I live at 1058 East Robinson, and I've been a resident for about 30 years. My subject is much easier and less controversial. I'm reading your agenda, and you're talking about closing the Durkee Bridge for an hour on Saturday, April 13th. Fundamentally, I'm all for the Soapbox Derby and the Youth and Mentors Program. I don't know who the individual it is here that is representing it, but as a business owner over on the island, Saturdays are generally a busy time for us. Sunday would be by far a better day, which has less activity on the island and less activity for our business. So I'd just like to throw out there the potential possibility, do you swap Saturday for Sunday the 14th from 10 to 11? But if it stays at Saturday, it certainly won't kill us, but I'd just like to throw that idea out there and see what everybody thought about it.
Mr. Smith, can I ask you, what impact was it to you by doing it last year?
It slows down. Saturday in the spring is our busiest time for people coming in, either working on their boats or looking to spend money and basically support our business. Whereas on Sunday mornings, we're closed. Most people aren't up around and doing anything at 10 to 11 in the morning, but Saturdays are a much more active time. But can we live with it? Sure we can. But if it was an easy transfer to go from Saturday to Sunday, that'd be great.
Okay.
But it's not a major issue.
Well, Carl's here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carl, you come up and speak on it.
I am the soapbox derby guy.
How you doing,
Carl
Tim?
Heileman, 1181 Master Street, North Tonawanda, and representing the North Tonawanda Jacket Club with the soapbox derby cars. So, so we ran it last year. We didn't close the bridge last year. That would be the same thing this year. Traffic, all that happened was traffic was stopped for a few moments while the kids took a run down the hill. And then as soon as they got to the bottom of the hill, they were pulled over, and then the auxiliary police flagged them through. So I don't think that anybody waited more than just a couple of minutes, I would say. That was about it. And it seemed like it went smoothly. And I did stop by all of the businesses there. I stopped by last year just to check with them to see if it was okay to do it on Saturday. I don't know if I talked to Mr. Smith, but some of the employees there I talked to a little bit, some of the managers that were on hand for their tailored devices, the other shipping company that's there on the island. And they had all told me, no problem, go ahead, have fun with the kids, and we'd love to watch it. It seemed like it was okay. So that's the first kind of complaint that I've heard that it might be an issue. To be honest with you, I think maybe 2 trucks came through and maybe a half a dozen cars. at the
Yeah, it's
most.
only for an hour, so.
Yeah, and it was even less than
Less
that. We
time.
actually only raced for, I think there were only 2 cars. They went down each 3 times, and it was less than a half an hour, I think. Maybe 20 minutes, actually. But by the time we pulled in, got unloaded, got the cars up the hill, and raced them down and stuff, so it was only for a few minutes, but.
Brad, did you want to add something? I'm sorry. You just-
Well, the only thing that I add is, if you can keep it to only slowing the traffic down or stopping it for, say, 10 minutes at
Oh,
a
sure,
shot and
yeah.
bringing people through, God bless, have a good time.
Yeah.
There's people working together, come on.
Right, so if at a future time, Sunday work, that'd be great too, but.
Yeah. We do have down, it's mainly we set up the 2 days just because of weather, because if it's raining on Saturday and we bump it to Sunday, it's tough to it just makes it a little easier on our planning part, to do it that way. We could aim at the Sunday and hope for good weather, but.
Yeah, I think we'd like to see that cooperative effort. I think, it sounds like it's gonna go off well.
Yeah, we'll make sure not slow you guys up, so.
Thank you so
If
much.
you guys want to exchange information too, maybe, just,
No,
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. That was a concern I had, is that we coordinate and cooperate
Absolutely.
and get along, just like we do with the runs.
Sure.
And if we don't close the bridge, that's only for the races.
Absolutely, I don't want to
That's,
close it down, yeah, it's only one way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on the agenda items for tonight and the agenda items only, please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Duza, and I reside at 123 Miller Street in North Tonawanda. Let me ask right off the bat, about 3 o'clock on Monday, I checked the website and I found the agenda and the communications. Thank you. My question was, when I was scanning it and having it printed out, I thought, oh my God, am I gonna be able to read this before Tuesday? So I wanna know, when was that put on the website? Because I do see it was filed February 28th.
On Friday, it was up there on Friday,
28th.
Friday morning, yeah.
I agree, Sonia, it was Friday.
When, was this document on the website Friday?
Yes,
Good news. Kudos to you. Kudos.
Got one.
To be
I appreciate
perfectly-
that.
To be perfectly honest with you, that's still not enough. If you
Damn it.
take the time, and I'm not a laborer of love.
Sonia, it was honestly
Sad.
about like 5 minutes after it was submitted, like.
Good. That's, you know what? That speaks
I'm trying
volumes. Not keeping it on a shelf. Oh my God, get up. Wonderful.
6 weeks.
The point, my point is, when was that determined, that agreement? Let me ask you that.
That's actually part of what we're gonna,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is part of what this
I know
ongoing
It
discussion
said it
is.
started in,
It was suggested in the workshop.
Well, hold on, which agreement are you talking about?
She's talking about when we had to submit something, or submit the
No.
agenda for the public?
No.
what I'm saying to you is, it says in the communications, late 2018, they started on working negotiations.
The union
When
council.
did the
Oh.
negotiations end? I have a reason for asking, of course.
Sure. So we started in December, we've met maybe 7 or 8 times, between December and mid-February. And then the council met in executive session the last 2 Tuesdays to go over it. So, when was it, what was the
When
question?
did you finish and it was agreed upon?
Well, this would be the final
Well,
agreement.
what I mean is, when did you vote?
The negotiating team and the union representatives agreed on it approximately 3 weeks ago, and then they took it to their union, and I brought it to the council to discuss
So
it.
about 3 weeks ago? It was.
Correct.
My reason for asking you that is, and again, kudos, I can't remember, but my working memory's not so good anymore. It's not dementia, it's just loaded. The point is, I can't recall in times past, I don't know if anyone remembers, Carol, remember the union contract being out, I think that's very good. That's the transparency I'm talking about. I would like to learn, you know, these are taxpayers who are footing the bill for the contract that's gonna support the contract.
There's actually a website that has all the union contracts on it. They go around and collect them. I forget the name of it. I can get it to you, but it has all the North Tonawanda contracts on it. I forget the name of the website though.
Amber says the contracts for,
And ours might even be,
oh, you mean the,
all of
Brotherhood.
our union contracts are online.
that's wonderful
And-
news. I never
and
knew that.
actually,
Something
Sonia,
new today.
If you wanna give me another kudos, we didn't have to put the whole thing on there, but I knew that you'd probably want it, so I put the whole
Absolutely.
thing.
Hey, if you're gonna do it, go all the
I
way.
talked to Lori and I wanted her to scan the whole, all 58 pages.
I mean, that's sloppy partially. Okay, wonderful. Now I would say, when I read it, I wanna ask you, I remember decades ago, I used to think, that's the city attorney, he plays ball, they go to, you know, the, municipal, big summertime party you have and do different things, and I'm thinking, how can they be neutral when it comes to who's going to be receiving, whether it's a wish list appropriations or a union contract? How can they be neutral? And I still wonder, is that kosher? Does that make sense? And I'm gonna check out, do other municipalities have it where their elected officials or appointed rule over those negotiations? It doesn't seem kosher to me. And I'm not even saying you're doing any cheating. I'm just thinking, that doesn't seem kosher.
Sure, and I understand your point of view on that, but actually, I'm not supposed to be neutral, I'm supposed to represent the city's interest, and I think I do that pretty well in the negotiations.
You have
But
some
you
experience?
I do, and you can
I
ask,
thought- I thought so.
you can ask the union reps about that too, if they like negotiating with me, so.
Ask who, Mimi?
No, you can ask the union leaders how much.
The other thing is, who crunches the numbers when the city is doing their evaluation? And who crunches the numbers for the union? I know you can't speak for the union, but maybe on this you could tell me.
So typically, the city accountant does it, but in this particular instance, the city accountant is in this union, and we're not allowed to use her to crunch those numbers. So I ran most of them myself through an Excel spreadsheet, and double checked them with the assistant city attorney. And we were able to come up with the numbers that way.
So you and the assistant attorney, it's not like a big explosive high finance kind of a thing, it's pretty.
No, it's 1%, 2%. I mean, it's numbers that we can do.
You know, you mentioned the 1% and 2%. I have some other questions.
We're right around 5, we're a little bit over 5 minutes now.
I talked a little bit. She can.
Yeah, we're.
I don't mind talking about this.
But thank you,
In
Sonia.
the 1%, 2% each year, I want to point out to you something very basic, but nonetheless very important. In page 86 of the communication, 91 pages, Mike Zimmerman's communication, which is on the agenda, he writes to you, North Tonawanda, this is regarding.
Let's wrap this up a little bit, okay?
Regarding
Over the 5
the
minutes.
zombie property prevention grant 2.0. North Tonawanda would intend to use the funding from a new grant award to promote fair housing initiatives, additional trainings and educational workshops for city staff. This is basic stuff. And the public, as well as potential technology upgrades for the city departments. They're looking for grants to get this. You're talking about giving good large sums of money and various benefits to city employees. And let me stipulate, people should be paid well, especially if
Sonia,
they do
let's
good
wrap it
work.
up, though. You're
What I'm
over your 5
saying to
minutes.
you is, we have to look for grants, for training, for basic technology upgrades,
Mhm.
educational training and educational workshops for city staff. That is not good. That's that you're not really giving thought. You're placing a higher value on paying salaries than paying basic educational maintenance kinds of things.
Okay, thank you so much.
Training and technology, I hope you'll think about that.
Okay, thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Anybody else wishing to speak on the agenda, and tonight's agenda only at this point? Please state your name and address and come to the microphone. Anybody else? Seeing that there's none, let's roll the minutes for the agenda.
Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes of the regular session of February 19, 2019.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed on that? Motion is carried.
Now on to the approval of the minutes of the special session on February 26, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, so on communications from other city official, or from city officials, the first three items from Austin Tylek, Robert Pecoraro, and Eric Zilka were thanks to our city attorney Luke Brown, who did a little bit of digging and treasure hunting and found a very old rules of procedure that of the Common Council that was written a long time ago and actually is quite interesting and quite clear. We're gonna table those items for further discussion.
They're already tabled, we're
They're
going
already
to
tabled,
continue.
so we're just gonna continue tabling them.
Table for now, so we can look into it further.
So,
Yeah, and there are many, many guidelines on that, so Luke will review it and we'll get that into a document form. Thank you.
From the city attorney's office regarding approval of the MOA between the North Tonawanda Police Benevolent Association and the city of North Tonawanda.
So moved.
I'll second
that.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
Alderman, President Zilka.
Aye. Motion is carried.
From the city attorney's office regarding proposed contract agreement between the city of North Tonawanda and the Office and Professionals Employee International Union, also known as OPEIU.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, and can we have roll call on this, please?
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
President Zilka.
Aye. Motion is carried.
From the office of the clerk treasurer regarding approval of the cell phone and electronic communication device policy creation.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we draft up a proposal, a policy for the cell phone and communication device policy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
On the question, actually,
Mhm.
and that's something that we'll be discussing in a workshop prior
Correct.
to a council meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
To the office, from the office of the city engineer regarding award of contract for project 2017-01 Fifth Avenue Storm Sewer Separation Project.
Dale, did you need to speak on any of this just for clarification or? Just briefly, yes.
We would love for you to speak.
Dale, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, as you might remember, we separated storm sewers back in 2014 on First, Second, and Third in Ironton. And in 2016, we separated storm sewers over on Christiana Street. So this project is a continuation of what we've been doing, getting water out of our sanitary sewer system, and these projects pay for themselves because we're not treating all that rainwater at the treatment plant. So we had a bid opening, and as you can see, we had 9 bidders, which is unusual, but it's only one street, and I'd like to thank the mayor because working with Robin Schimminger, he got a SAM grant that he combined the Children's Memorial Garden Walk along with this Fifth Avenue Storm Sewer Separation Project. So $96,000 of these funds are coming for separating sewers on Fifth Avenue. So as you can see, we had 9 bidders. The low bidder is NFP and Sons. They were the ones that did Christiana Street back in 2016. And as you can see, they left about $27,000 on the table. The next bid, New Frontier, was right where our estimate was. So I think we got our estimate right. The average of these bids you're seeing tonight is 167, so there's a big increase in similar projects that we just did 2 years ago, so quite shocking. But I called NFP and Sons, and they helped us out in the past. 7 of these 9 contractors have done work for the city, and they're willing to do it at that price, so we're recommending award to NFP and Sons.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dave.
Dale, can I ask a quick question? As part of that, are they going to pave curb to curb or?
No, we're just separating. We gotta figure out what we're gonna do with that over there, but probably all new curbs and out.
It's pretty rough.
We're just, yeah, it's rough, so, but we're gonna do it.
I'll make the motion that we select NFP and Sons Incorporated for the Fifth Avenue Storm Sewer Separation
Do
Project.
we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second from Alderman Tyler. Let's do roll call, please.
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
President Zadilka.
Aye, motion is carried.
From the office of the city accountant regarding payment of the abstract of claims dated March 5th, 2019.
I'll make a motion, we receive and file.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll need roll call on this, please.
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
President Zadilka.
Aye, motion is carried.
From the office of the police chief regarding approval to appoint David L. Flores and Jeremiah T. Hussey as police officers for the North Tonawanda Police Department.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From the Department of Youth, Recreation, and Parks regarding signature of letter of intent to move forward with the Build It with Kaboom grant.
I'll make the motion that we approve this.
Yeah, Don and I sat on that committee, and I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Again, from the Department of Youth, Recreation, and Parks regarding approval to waive the permit fee for use of facilities to various nonprofit organizations.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
President Zadilka.
Aye, motion carried.
From the Office of the Building Inspector regarding permission to change City Code, Chapter 36, Electrical Code, Article 2, Section 36-16B.
Rob, did you want to speak on this before we put it to vote, just to give us a little background?
If you want me to.
Yeah, just briefly, in case anybody wasn't here.
You were the only one at our public hearing earlier, so you have to talk now.
So I have to say something? All right, as I said at the workshop, this is just to raise our minimum passing grade for licensed electricians to make it the same as all the other local municipalities.
Right.
So we have an even level for minimum competency.
Better
This just
candidate.
brings us in line with everybody else.
Perfect,
That's it.
thank you so
Thank
much. So do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Monthly reports from the Senior Center.
Make the motion, receive and file.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second to receive and file. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Again, monthly reports, annual vacation and sick leave reports from Youth, Recreation, and Parks.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From Community Development regarding permission to submit a joint grant application with the City of Tonawanda for the local initiative support cooperation zombie property prevention.
Does anybody need clarification before we vote on this? Okay, seeing that we do not, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call on this, please.
Alderman Braun.
Aye.
Alderman Berube.
Aye.
Alderman Pecoraro.
Aye.
Alderman Tylek.
Aye.
President Zadilka.
Aye, motion carries.
To communications from others. From Zachary S. Nemec regarding permission to be reappointed as Commissioner of Deeds for the City of North Tonawanda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
From Mark Houghton regarding permission to be reappointed as Commissioner of Deeds for the City of North Tonawanda.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From Carl Heilman regarding permission to close the Thompson Street Durkee Bridge on Saturday, April 13, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for practice runs for the Soapbox Derby for youth and mentors.
I'll make the motion that we approve that based on our discussion that we had earlier, that it wouldn't be closed the entire time, that traffic would be allowed to flow.
I'll second that in the same manner. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
From Gwendolyn Nemick and Barbara Striz, thank you, regarding permission to be appointed as Commissioner of Deeds for the City of North Tonawanda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. At this point, I believe that concludes the agenda. However, if anybody wanted to speak on any city business, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm Sue Wilk, and I reside at 329 Miller Street. And I'm reiterating what I said a couple months ago about saving the wetlands in Brentwood. I'm also want to educate you about a couple things. Do you know who this person is?
No.
Does any of the kids in the back know who she is? She's an activist, she's Swedish, and she's concerned about in the next 20 years, or even 12 years, that these kids, her generation isn't going to have much of is going to have to deal with climate change. Are you familiar with this court case?
No.
Okay, this was on 60 Minutes. There are a bunch of kids in the United States of America, and they are suing the U.S. government because Republican-dominated, no offense, has corporations and fossil fuel industries have gotten a big ride from our government. And they're suing it because their future is going to be compromised in the next 12 years. You know what this state is about? I think I lost the
Don't worry about it.
Okay, on March the 15th, there are kids, this already happened in Europe. They have walked out of their schools to protest about what is being done that nothing is being done about the environment. And I think you should be aware of it. You have kids, or you're gonna have kids and grandkids. If you really care about your children, you better get involved, and you better kind of stop wishy-washing around with the wetlands and try to, drain every wetland you can. And also Mears Construction Company is chewing away at the public access on our river. Years ago, we had the Rizzles taking public access for a medical building. And then, what's his name, Mears Construction Company is making a bunch of these apartment houses, just like they're doing in Tonawanda, where people don't have public access. Also, are you aware of what happened in Toledo, Ohio recently? They have a city council just like we do, only it's larger. They gave personhood to Lake Erie. If you got a time to do something good for our community, maybe you should start making personhood for the Niagara River. Any comments?
No, thank you.
It's gonna come, and are they gonna thank you for it? And I urge you guys to get involved and demand that your teachers teach you more about climate change. That means your earth science teacher, your biology teacher, and also your government teacher. Because you have to challenge them. Because sometimes some people, they don't want you to think too much.
Sue, I look who it is, but I've been persecuted for looking at my phone right now. So, but prime example. But do you have any monthly meetings or anything that kids or myself or anyone could go to keep up on
Well, what I'm doing is I belong to an anti-fracking group, and they had gone to Albany today to lobby against fracking in Niagara County to get rid of that stupid, they want to build a compression station that's going to emit all kinds of emissions and, cause respiratory problems. Right, Barry? Now, this is in, it's off north at Tonawanda Creek. It's
Sue,
a pipeline.
So Sue, maybe we could talk at the end then
Okay,
and
great.
collect information, because it'd be nice if there were something local that, community members could go to understand a lot of this. It gets a
Yeah,
little
because
complicated,
we
so.
can't let this go on.
Thank you, Sue.
Well,
So stick around, I'll talk to you after, okay?
also, it's not Myers Cash and Carry that's building 600 River Road.
It's
It's
Vizone.
Rock One, Fisson.
This guy over here, surprise.
Not,
You guys should be friends too,
Okay,
come on.
so
We're
let's
bringing
just
people
start this
together.
off. What can we do to give back? Lou Vizone, Tom Selker here from 600 River Road. Huge 4-story apartments. We offer public access in the front of 600 River Road. We recently purchased 624 River Road. What's our frontage there, Tom?
850 feet back to the citizens of North Tonawanda.
We are giving back also 624 along the frontage where Dr. Retzel did not offer public access. We are giving you public access. We are adding that to our portfolio.
Yeah, no, can I ask you?
No, I'm not here to answer any questions. I love you. I love everything you have to say. We're here to address it. So we're giving that back to the city.
Thank you.
Because we want to do it for you and everybody else in here. Tom, you're up.
My name's Tom Selleck, Director of Development from Vizone Rock One Development from 600 River Road. I just wanted to say thank you to the city board and council for everything you guys did to help us facilitate our project. We're receiving a lot of praise from all the citizens from all the areas in Western New York. We have actually over 200 people on our list, waiting list. We'll be opening our first phase of the apartments hopefully by June this year. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you guys do for us. Sometimes it goes unappreciated. We appreciate it, but we do have some ideas for the city to help bring other developers in, and I wanted Lou, the owner.
We'd love to hear that, and we'll work with you on it, and we're excited about your project. I think it's gonna bring a lot of people there, and I think, a lot of places, I look around North Tonawanda, you build it, they come, and I think it's gonna draw people there, so, we'd welcome any kind of a discussion.
Well, first off, I gotta say, you guys have a couple of awesome coffee shops up here, because you can tell, I had 2 cups of coffee before I am wound up. And I did leave the room to use my cell phone, so, going forward, thanks for all your help. The city and the county invested in our development, by the way. We all invested in 600 River Road, tax incentives, part of the IDA and everything, and I wanna thank you for that. But I do have something now that I'm committed in the area that I wasn't here before, right? So how do I add to that? How can I bring value to this area? I know that your budget is something that you struggle with. City that used to have 60,000 people is now supported by 30,000 people, which is difficult. I can see that going forward. Safe, everybody loves living here. Nice people, great fire department, great police department, and every one of you that I've ever had a chance to sit down and talk with, fantastic. We just need a little help right now. So as I said, we're willing to give back 624 River Road, public access all across the front there. People can come there, fish, ride their bikes, whatever. We're actually going to continue a bike path all the way around the property now. So it'll be really nice.
Great.
Bike and walking, okay? So more than one access point. We also want to look forward to future development of 624 River Road in addition to 600 River Road. How can you help? What do we need? So the budget constraints that you have here are only going to be, addressed if you really bring in outside business to the area. All right? It's not just cutting dollars and cutting jobs. You also have to add to the tax base, which is going to be difficult, but it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible.
something that we need your help with though, and I gotta say this, Joe, please don't take this the wrong way. Somebody came to look at the apartments not long ago, and they came up there and they looked at it a couple of years back when we first started. They wanted to rent there. And they made a joke, and it really was kind of funny, but now it's not really funny. They're like, drive up there, bring people up to my house, and they're gonna go down Rubble Road. No, it's like River Road. It's like, no, it's not River Road, it's Rubble Road, because there's rubble all over the place. I'm like, Subsequently, he's going downtown Buffalo. So I'm out 2 tenants, almost $6,000 in rent per month. Okay, so how can I ask for your help? Well, he's not wrong in saying Rubble Road because there is lackluster ownership on River Road. Okay, what do I mean by lackluster? You got owners who aren't the greatest neighbors. So everybody that lives in the city deserves to drive into a nice area, have some nice trees to look at, enjoy River Road. There are some businesses and even some homeowners that really aren't being kind to their neighbors. So I love the fact that you guys open in prayer, right? As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Come alongside each other. Hey, how can I help you? Another one. Love your neighbor as yourself. So how can I be a good neighbor to everybody here? By having a nice piece of property that I upkeep well. By the way, after about 4 months of ownership of the property, I got cited for high grass. They weren't wrong. I cut my grass. There needs to be that same enforcement, though, for some property owners that aren't really worried about the rest of us here. The River Road corridor is along the Niagara River. It's beautiful. It's a nice drive.
Magnificent.
Magnificent.
One of the wonders of the world, leads to one of the 7 wonders of the world that North Tonawanda gets to share.
But why do we all have to be subject to driving by a gigantic pile of stone that reaches the stratosphere practically? It's blowing dust, silica, mind you, crushed in right towards the school and towards the neighborhoods. I don't know if there's a height restriction on it or not. I don't know if anybody's done a study. Certainly not nice to look at. And you go a little further, and we got a recycling facility there that not great looking in there. Not picking on owners. I'm a business owner myself, and I have to be reminded sometimes to clean up my act. It's with my grass. Coming from this direction, now it's coming from Niagara Falls, now you come the other way, and there's only a couple of different ways to get to our apartment complex. Just not great looking, you know. I'm setting the bar pretty high with what I'm building, really high. We're adding on monies to that every day with upgrades. Just the railing upgrade alone. Make the railings really nice so that if you wanted to rent an apartment there and you wanted to look out, you know, zero visibility, okay? So we've got cables now so you can look out of your apartment and see the water.
And how long is the waiting list for this?
It's 200 people on it.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing. We hope. Now, that doesn't mean that they've all agreed to come down and rent there. That means they're on the waiting list to come and see them
You're creating a buzz.
when they're complete. So we recently purchased 624 River Road, and I know I'm probably at 5 minutes now. We want to get a restaurant into 624 River Road, the doctor's property. We'd like to convert that over. It'd be great for a restaurant. However, people driving here, you know, sometimes the drive is as nice as the destination, right? We'd love to see the city just, the neighbors, everybody, the Smiths. Mr. Smith is here. Great neighbor. Great neighbor. Mr. Taylor, he's not here. Great neighbor. Okay? The marinas in the area, great neighbors. Most of the residents, great neighbors. But we all have to link arms and work together going forward to encourage other people to maybe change things up a little bit. I met with Austin a couple of weeks ago, talked to him about this a little bit, some different things. I've spent a lot of time walking around the city. Oliver Street, great eclectic street. Needs a little uplifting. I drove by a little park there a couple of weeks ago. What was the park that I mentioned you were?
Carruthers Park.
Carruthers Park,
Right.
great
We
little.
talked about a dog park there, right?
Talked about a dog park there, I got dogs, I love dogs, we're gonna allow dogs at our property, by the way, so everyone wants to come rent, you can have your dogs there, okay? But even that, dog park, great idea, and there was something I saw, a little, skating park, it looked like, it was kind of like the kids may have been locked out or something.
That's a point of contention a little bit, that makeshift skate park, isn't it?
Okay, well, whatever, I mean, I used to skateboard when I was a kid, look how I turned out, I'm okay, I think, anyhow.
Lou, when's your projected finish date of this
Phase
wonderful
one,
project?
so as I was saying, let's see if we can get kids skating, I was a skateboarder, I loved it, get me out of trouble.
Great.
June, we should be opening the first building, the first set of buildings. Early fall, second set of buildings. We're gonna see how they rent and see what the market looks like to develop 624 with maybe a couple of buildings with some frontage, with some storefronts on River Road, with some apartments above them, multi-use. Fantastic for the community, brings in good tax dollars.
Yeah.
So I need your help, I'm looking for ideas, we've met with Luke, we've met with, sorry, Art, you don't mind if I call you Art, we met with the mayor.
It's been my name all my life.
Okay, okay, I just don't like to overstep on.
Feel free, any of the council members that you want to meet with, we'd like to hear your concerns about the area, the immediate surroundings.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overall question was, what can the council do to help uplift and help particularly commercial businesses follow zoning, planning, and building laws, because they are being broken every day.
Mhm.
Every day that passes by,
I
there
know
are
over them
properties.
here.
Excuse me.
There are properties along the city that are making tons of money, that are businesses that are running. And mind you, their property taxes are not high. We're gonna be bringing over $200,000 in new property taxes to this city. There's properties that look hideous, that are paying probably less than homeowners in this room.
Right, so Tom.
What can the council do?
Right, and it is a tough discussion, and I believe, Lou, when I had spoken to you, we talked about that area, and, it was an industry, right, like most waterfront areas, and how do we now take that and sort of step back and say, okay, let's get the public out there in front, and I think municipalities on any waterfront are struggling with that, and some are a little bit more successful than others, some have a little bit more money than others, so that's the sort of hard part, which I'm sure, working with the business owners who are there, who own these big heaps of, asphalt or what have you, and how do you move that, or at least work with them so your property does well and people do want to rent there. And I saw Rob, our code enforcement, sorry to call you out, sort of shaking his head over there when we talked about, code. And do you see, is there anything that you see in that general area that could be maybe addressed or, written to a business owner, just saying tidy this up or move this?
No, in all respects to Mr. Frazone, his project is awesome, we're very lucky to get it. He's building a wonderful project in an M zone, and it's great, but it's still, he's totally surrounded by M.
Okay.
Our city, North Tonawanda, has an industrial heritage that primarily, his lot was a steel mill, pig iron mill. Right, for 100 years, there's a pig iron mill on your property. In the old days, no one wanted to be by the water, right? 1933, we got a sewage treatment plant. 1933 is not that long ago. In 1932, your toilet flushed into the river, and it flushed into the canal, and it flushed into ditches all over town. Nobody wanted to be by the water because it stunk. 1933, we got a sewage treatment plant, things get better. Well, now we realize from that time, all the industry goes to the water because nobody wanted to be there. So that's how it still is. We have an old city, a very old city, and his project, his project is excellent, and we're super lucky to get it. Unfortunately, he's the first new kid on the old block. And you can't just go down River Road and say, sorry, mister, you have to close your business. Sorry, mister, you have to move your material. Sorry, mister, you have to get your junk out of there because we're you guys' neighborhood. We're lucky to have them, but all those people have rights too.
No, they don't. They don't have rights like that. And I hate to go against what you're saying. The used car lots that are up there,
Who would stand for those used car lots dismantling their car in the front of the used car lot and leaving a hulk there to look at? Would you stand for that, Austin?
I
Would
don't
you stand
care
for
for
that?
it, Lou,
Would you
yeah.
stand for that?
Yeah.
Of course not. You got used car lots, sell the cars. Don't dismantle them there and leave them there for junk.
Well, this
And I'm
is,
sorry, I hate to argue with you,
Yeah,
but,
and
but
repair station.
and this is where we can meet and talk about this
Yeah, let's
more.
meet.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree, though, we
that's
should.
fine.
However, we've met about this before many times. We came up with a list of citations, and I'll say it, Mr. Metzger. I had a conversation with Mr. Metzger. Mr. Metzger, we got a good project going on here. Your property will be worth more if you clean it up. He was said to me exactly, and I've known Mr. Metzger for 25 years. I'm offended by that accusation, Lou. I said, well, Mr. Metzger, I'm offended by driving by piles of junk on my way to my job every day. So we can't agree to disagree, right?
Right.
Because I don't think you should be allowed to have dismantled equipment that looks like a junkyard
And this is
along
the-
the corridor.
And
Mike
this is part
Zimmerman,
of
do you
the
wanna say
discussion.
something?
Yeah,
Zimmerman.
that's all right.
Sure.
Yeah, and we've talked about this too, so.
We have, for years now, by the way, we've talked about
Yeah,
this.
and it's only one part of the puzzle, but it's
One part.
of this puzzle. Is what we've talked about in the past, and what I hopefully will come to the council shortly, is the updated zoning code that was drafted through the momentum plan that needs to be adopted. And that'll start to remedy a lot of, Rob, what you're talking about. It won't be an M zone anymore, it'll be the W zone, it'll be the downtown district. It'll start to hold those property owners to a different standard, right?
Right.
It's not an overnight fix because you
No.
can't throw them out overnight, but it does put a new standard in place that you can start to hold them to. So that's an important step. that
Yeah.
I hope the next.
I never
couple of
wanna
months-
hurt anybody's
And everything you're
business.
saying is great, but we'll have to set up a
I
meeting.
understand, I'm
Yeah.
not looking for
I
answers right
haven't, I
now.
haven't been in the meeting with any of this, but I'd like to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure many of us will wanna be a part of it, so let's see what we can do. I understand you talked to the mayor already. You're gonna get cooperative efforts, but with comments from Mike, input from, Rob DiPaolo, let's talk about
I
what
love
we
it.
can
As long
and
as
can't
we're
do.
talking about it, we're trying to move
In
forward.
public.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming and
Yeah,
speaking in public.
Lou, come see me and I'll set something up where I'll
Thank you
give
so
you my
much.
card.
You have a card?
Anybody else wishing to speak on any, city business for the good of the city, please step forward.
Good evening again. My name is Brad Smith. I live at 1058 East Robinson. And fundamentally, I've grown up in this community, but I've lived here for 30 years. I've watched, as we've talked about, the industrial heritage and the local community change. At the same time, I've watched downtown Buffalo change. I'd like to talk a little bit, or at least plant the seed in regards to some long-term planning and growth and where are we going. I would love to see a meeting of the city and the property owners that basically run from, let's say, downtown all the way down to the Wheatfield border, in the area that we were just talking about as to what the future growth is going to be. We bought a considerable amount of property over on Tonawanda Island. We have a little bit on River Road. We bought it years ago and we looked at it and said, someday this is gonna be prime property and this is gonna be gorgeous. Well, I think that someday is almost here. If you look around the entire western New York area, there is very little waterfront property left that's available for development. Grand Island is virtually developed all the way around. The Buffalo waterfront, for the most part, is gonna be a park and undevelopable, not developed in any particular fashion other than a park. And yet we have the opportunity here to ultimately go towards residential or some water-dependent businesses, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be boat rentals, whether it be boat sales. But the time is coming rapidly. That is a time that as a city, we get together between the city and some of the property owners and say, let's look at some of this long-term thought process. And then at the same time, try and address some of the subjects that we were talking about in regards to the presentation of the community. As a property owner, I've looked at similar properties in other cities, and I gotta tell you that they are gorgeous and they make our property look sick. I'll acknowledge that up front. But locally, our property looks pretty good in comparison to some of the other stuff that's around. Let's work in that whole aspect of bringing the whole area up, and I think the development is here. The time is just about to occur, you know, the proverbial flip, it's coming if it hasn't already started. From our standpoint, I've tried to buy the old R.T. Jones lumber property twice over the course of my time frame and have never been able to pull it off. Because I've always thought that if I could combine that property with the property that I already have, I would have a phenomenal piece of property to do something with on the waterfront. On the same token, I never wanted to be the first one to break the mold. So I'm truly happy that somebody else is here breaking the mold. And in all honesty, I'm gonna watch him for the next several years and see how he does. Because, you know, once somebody's broken the mold, it's easier for the next person to come along and do some of the same thing. So with some of that in mind, though, you asked what can the city do for some of us out there? There's nothing that's really huge at the moment. Would I love to have a meeting or an agenda where the local business and the city get together? Sure. On the same token, I would like to see some work on the road back in Tonawanda Island. I recognize most people don't go back there, most people don't see it. Our customer base is primarily people that come into North Tonawanda from outside the area. It's the people from Williamsville, Amherst, Clarence, Orchard Park, West Seneca that are coming in that are looking at the image of North Tonawanda. And if we try and flip North Tonawanda from being old industrial to being, this is the next hotspot for residential development, some of these items, you know, would need to be looked at over the course of time. And then some of the other items, which has been sometimes extremely good and sometimes a little sporadic, is things such as picking up some of the debris from tree limbs to garbage to things of that nature. There are times that the city is absolutely excellent about that. There are other times that I'd like to say there may be an opportunity to improve on some of those items. But primarily, I'm here to support the idea that the city's changing. I think the time's here that we're gonna flip from industrial to, do we start looking at residential and bringing in people from outside the community that have a higher income level that can pay for this new development, pay the tax base. On the same token, hopefully ultimately become our customer. Let's be realistic. If you're gonna rent an apartment or buy a piece of property on the river, you have an interest in the water, well, that's a logical customer for us.
Sure.
So I just wanted to throw that out there as some support and also long-term thinking as to where the property can go. We've owned the property on the island we've owned for about 35 years. The property on River Road we've owned even longer, so it's been a long time. And I'd like to think that the time is here.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
very much.
Anybody else wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city?
My name is Sonia Duza, and I live at 123 Miller Street. I'm a lifelong resident of North Tonawanda. And I'm telling you, I did not invite these two last speakers.
I know.
Gentlemen, what you have spoken about a lot is what I have been asking since the early 1960s. Code enforcement. Let's have a planner, a full-time planner in the 60s. No way. A part-time, no way. We have problems here. As I've said for many decades now, we've been backwards, sleepy, unprogressive. You get pissed with me when I say this to you. They said it. They are business owners. You heard it right from people who are caring about their property. It's the same for the residents. They are not receiving PROFIT. We receive getting our garbage picked up. Snow plows, that's the profit we get for paying taxes. When they pay taxes, they receive rent, a lot of money. They want to see that flourish. I'm thinking, the way the gentleman was talking, he wants to exploit what we have here.
Sure.
I can understand that. But this is an example. These two fellas, I wish this was being tape recorded, because this would
It
be
is being.
It is.
wonderful. But I'm talking video. I'd like a copy of it this shortly. The point is, he makes good points. Now, I
And
don't know.
we're willing to work with that, just so you're no mistake.
Well, I'll tell you, and even Austin, well, we can look at that. I've been talking about problems we have, which are security, safety, investment of your property. Nothing's gone, nothing happens. Even when we went to court, we won over and over. The highest judge who had integrity. North Tonawanda, we won a contempt motion against North Tonawanda because they were so obstinate about doing what you're asking for. Basic minimal regulations were not being followed. You heard these fellows today. Just 2 meetings or last meeting, I talked about the concrete junkyard, how terrible it looks. Mayor, you were putting me down, oh, this and this and that, you know. This has been bad things going on for too long, even when people have come before you. And these people were two examples. They've been here a short time already. I want this guy thrown out, this guy thrown out. Well, there's a name when you want to make changes. And we did not incorporate it in our zoning ordinance. And that is, when we propose a new zoning ordinance, it should be the person who has a site that is really, what's the word I want, Mike?
Talking about like a sunset?
Huh?
Like a sunset?
No, it's not a sunset. It's a term, and right now that word escapes me. But what it means is, and I learned from one of our consultants, a designer, highly regarded. In the 80s, when we were challenging the city in Article 78, we had a designer, a planner who specialized in neighborhoods, and a PhD architect
So
who
you
taught
have 1 minute.
architecture. You let the other people speak longer,
Excuse
that is
me.
very unfair.
No.
Well, actually, I counted the two gentlemen as 2 5-minute pieces, and Mr. Smith actually ended his exactly at 5 minutes and 7 seconds, which is pretty impressive. So,
Excellent.
so you can go till 5:07.
The thing is, I'm rebuttaling what they had said, and it's very important.
You got it.
The designer said, what your municipality, because our zoning ordinance was implemented in 1959, it's very small, and it's expanded a little bit, and it's not bad, but it needs to be coming up. The point is, there are very basic regulations that protect the people's health, safety, security, their investments, but we haven't had that being enforced. And consequently, neighborhoods have gone down. Now, the department, Albany, has made a law where when you notify the building inspector on a concern you have or a violation, what have you, and that building inspector does not address that, and you've notified the appropriate person, the Department of State, they will have an administrative judge call that person, code enforcement, building inspector, in to speak with him. And if he finds for the person who made the complaint, that person has revoked his certification to
Sonia,
be
you're at 5
code
minutes and
enforcement, whatever.
39
The
seconds.
point is, we have problems here. And these gentlemen have really, they've been honest about, here's what I want to see. Like you said, hey, you know, we're here now, I need your help.
That's right.
They got a lot of help.
We're here.
When 600
Thank you, Sonia.
River Road was
Thank you.
going before the planning and zoning board.
Sonia.
In fact,
Thank
the
you.
building inspector said, we've never done
Sonia.
this before, he knew it was illegal.
We're good, Sonia. Thank you. We
Mike, is
appreciate,
it getting too hot and too close?
we appreciate it.
Things you
No.
want covered? The
No.
point is,
No, the point is, you've talked
need
twice.
to-
Hey, Sonia,
need to-
Sonia, let me, come here. I'm here to help you. I'm here for you.
I tell you,
I'm here for ya.
I'm in agreement with you.
Let's
That's
sit
some
down.
of the planning you want to see. But you know what? We've got to be for the community,
We are.
not
Yes, we
only for
are.
ourselves.
There we go. Thank you. So it's just as a suggestion, and I don't wanna come off too hardcore here. The concrete pile at the other end of the city, I do have a real concern for that. The new, silica laws that I have to impose on my company, for my employees, basically I can't do anything that makes any silica dust without employees wearing respirators. And I'm a little concerned about that big pile of stone that is so high, and maybe we do get a hold of the DEC. They'll probably come out and monitor it when the wind is blowing, and at least show us if, hey, listen, the rock pile's not blowing dust into the community,
It's illegal.
blowing silica into the community. So it
And
just
Lou,
is an
and
idea.
Lou, please, take advantage of what I'm offering you.
Absolutely.
Let's finish this conversation with some concrete. You've given us the problem, let's get through some results. But I don't think we're gonna solve it tonight.
We're not.
But I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I know you.
I
Thank
hear
you
you
so
loud
much.
and clear, thank you. Anybody else wishing to get a chance to speak on any city issue, for the good of the city, please step forward.
Hello, council. Big Mike, 196 South Meadow Drive. I know it's been a bad winter, stuff like that, but there's one person tonight in this hall that I want to give a lot of credit to, the good job that he's doing for the city of North Tonawanda. Mark Zellner, the superintendent. Mark, you're doing a heck of a job, and keep up the good work.
Amen.
Good job, Mark.
Mike, thank you always for your positivity. I appreciate that.
Anybody else, before we go into closing comments, wishing to speak on any city business for the good of the city, please step forward. State your name and address. How you doing, Carl?
Good evening. My name is Carl Bauer. I live at 1066 East Robinson Street. For everybody here on the council and probably many of you in the audience, I'm a fairly regular attendee at council meetings. And kudos to the clerk, Matt. Not only was the website full of a lot of the information in a timely manner, he even had it labeled with Roman numerals and then numbers so you could see what order they were supposed to be presented in, which was a good thing, okay? But my point and what I wanted to discuss this evening is that this is actually addressed, if I may, to the students in the audience who are out here doing their required attendance at a city council meeting. This has been a rather contentious, interesting, I won't call it subtly debatable, I'll call it harshly debatable, series of circumstances. I hope that you take this back and discuss it in class, because this one was rather ripe, if you will, for lack of a better expression, with opinions, okay? This was a good one. If you got the benefit of seeing the young lady over here smiling back at me, this was a very good council meeting to attend. The only other thing that I would add is that we continue to work on protocol and common courtesy, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. There's gonna be some, part of our protocol and parliamentary procedure. You know, I was looking over the rules and the procedure of the city of North Tonawanda that Luke just gave us. There's strict rules that, you know, we get very flexible. However, you have to understand, we have to have some sort of a norm, some sort of a standard. And we're gonna get back to that standard. And I don't think him and Han at the podium is going to help your fellow resident who would like to speak at the podium. But because we wanna give you extra time or you extra time, we have to make it uniform. And we're gonna do that. And Luke's gonna see some of that in these documents that he's uncovered that we're gonna be putting together. The council president's job is to keep order in the chambers. I've told several of you, I don't want you yelling out when other people are speaking, but yet it still continues to happen. And it says even in this charter and these rules of procedure that were set before I got on the council, and we'll bring them to light, that that's just unacceptable. And I don't want to have to apologize to any of the audience or any of the students for people that are speaking out of line, yelling out from the audience. Let's give them the time that they gave you. So I'm not going to say that again, but changes are coming with that because we need to keep order and decorum, and let's keep calm in the chambers. I will listen to all of your points. I welcome all of your points. You've made good points, a lot of you tonight, and I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. It's a discussion, you bring out good things, we're gonna look into it. I think we said about 4 times, we're willing to meet with these people to discuss their concerns. So, let's kind of think of your fellow resident when you get up to the microphone, when you yell out from the audience. It's really reaching a point where we're not gonna tolerate it anymore. It's just been going on. We're in 2019. We need to keep some sort of a procedure. Austin's talked about procedure and protocol. He's talked about policy. Let's make that our policy and let's abide by that. I think it's fair for everyone else. With that said, we're gonna go into closing comments. At this point, we'll start with Alderman Austin Tyler, please.
You sure there wasn't anyone else who wanted to speak?
I'm pretty sure.
No one's gonna raise their voice if they are even, so. This was probably one of my most favorite meetings so far, so I agree. It's been very exciting, so thank you, everyone. So Lou and Tom, I did speak with you briefly not too long ago, and I really want to help you engage the community. It sounds like that's a big piece that you want a part of your sort of mission. It's really important. NT is very sort of territorial. I think I use that too. So any way that we can sort of bridge that gap and get you out there in the community with everyone, I'm willing to help you do that. So, and of course, thank you for doing this project. It's a huge investment on our waterfront. You went through a lot of procedures to get where you are. It's taken many years. So we're hoping that there's a lot of success moving forward. And I understand that the issue with the surrounding area, right? We talked about industry and how we move forward, and Mike Zimmerman has been a big piece of that as well. We're sort of implementing things that give people a little nudge, right? And hopefully we don't have to give a push. So we're heading, I think, in the right direction, and we'll just have to keep an eye on everything, and Mike will definitely help that along the way.
You're lucky to have them.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That's great. Procedures, we talked about procedures. I'm glad that we're sort of open-minded right now about the procedures, but we also have to get something on paper. And whether or not all of us up here are gonna agree to what's exactly on the paper, I think what's important is that we not only keep order, but we give people a voice and let other people hear that voice.
That's right.
And that's something that I think hasn't always been present, but we'll make sure in the future that is present. So I'm glad that we're willing to work towards a goal. I hope it's the same type of goal, and I know Luke will help do that as well. So thank you everyone for coming. Stay warm.
Thank you, Alderman Bob Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to congratulate the 2 new police officers that we just announced tonight, David Flores and Jeremiah Hussey. It's a great thing to bring them on the police force. I'm excited about that. I talked about Donna and myself being on this Kaboom committee. Alex Demirovsky, who's our parks superintendent, did an awesome job bringing the community together to develop this grant proposal that we are implementing tonight. And it's great to see the excitement, the leadership that he is providing for the Parks Department. As far as 600 River Road's concerned, Lou and Tom, I was gonna say great job. Mark and I have taken many First Ward residents out there to see the progress and development, and everybody is excited because you read about it, but until you see it, it's great. But you got everybody fired up tonight, which is a good thing too. And I want to be part of the solution for you too, because I think it's absolutely critical. And it's hard to see the beauty of River Road when you're missing potholes. So, the River Road is, to me, a disaster, and it needs to be improved, and we're going to work towards doing that. But I appreciate your project overall, and we're going to do what it takes to make it right. As far as other economic development is concerned, Woodcock Brothers over in the Wurlitzer building have not only bought a first portion, but they're also looking at phase 2 before they even opened, which is a great thing for North Tonawanda to move forward with. And I don't know if anybody's aware, but Prosper Brewing had a soft opening last weekend, and they're moving forward too. So a lot of great things that are happening in the city of North Tonawanda itself, and I'm really excited about that. Other than that, I'd appreciate y'all for coming tonight. It was a worthwhile discussion that we had, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Alderwoman Donna Braun.
Everyone said almost everything I was gonna say. I really.
See, that's why we go first.
Yeah, well, one of these days I would like to go first. I totally appreciate, the idea of, meeting with the business owners from downtown to Wheatfield, because I think that would be a great start to, figure out the needs of the businesses. We did recently just have many complaints about River Road itself. I've driven down it many times, I understand that, but I think starting that meeting and, getting together, with the council and the city would be a great, foot forward. And me and my husband, have watched 600 River Road. He tells me, Donna, get down there and drive down, see where they are at. He sits on the zoning board chair, and he is so impressed with how that development has come so far, and I'm very excited to see it coming, so let's try and work together to, bring a little bit more, shoulder to shoulder, with your neighbors down there. I was gonna mention Prospero Brewing, down on Webster Street, another one, but Bob took that. But they will be having a new, and that was a soft opening. And I am very excited to be on the Kaboom Steering Committee, and you are right, Alex has taken the reign in the Parks and Recreation Director, and he has done a great job so far, and he did most of the footwork for that, and we had our second meeting and interview with the Kaboom people, and they felt that our chances of getting that grant to put a playground down at Mayor's Park is, very good. So excited to see that happen. And on that note, definitely try and keep warm. I'm ready for I'm sure that Mark Zellner's not ready for the spring, because we're gonna, right? But you have done a great job all winter long, and I'm sure you're gonna continue on with the spring and attention to the roads, which is gonna be very evident soon. Thank you.
Alderman Mark Berube.
Not to repeat what everybody else has said, but Lou, Tom, I agree. It's a fabulous. When I came on the board a little over 2 years ago, my goals and priority were to improve the waterfront along River Road, improve the Oliver Street Business District, and help street improvements. And I know Mark's done a great job repaving a ton of roads in the first ward and stuff over these past 2 years. And I drive by 600 River Road just about every other day, and I'm just blown away by what's getting done there. I really appreciate it. And I think everybody on the council here would be amenable to setting up meetings where we could get with other property owners to see what we need to do to keep improving and everything. I mean, we've just started, but we still have a long way to go. I mean, we've had a lot of new businesses come in along Oliver Street also and stuff, and I think we are moving in the right direction, and we just need to have meetings to keep continuing that movement and stuff. And then one other thing, I know Bob didn't mention, I thought he would. We do have an upcoming hub meeting.
We do.
Later this month and stuff over at Redeemer Lutheran Church.
The regular hub is at March 20th, 10 to 12, and then we have tax preparation, but you need an appointment for that, 1 to 3. So if you know of anybody that wants to have their taxes prepared by professionals, I come and have them text or call or email or whatever it takes to me, and I'll get them on the schedule. Thank you, Mark, I appreciate that.
No problem. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mark. City Attorney Luke Brown, let's go to you next.
Thanks.
Okay. Then I'd like to go to Clerk Treasurer Matt Parrish.
Sure, first, Mr. Zone, as a department that deals heavily with bringing in revenue into the city, I greatly appreciate what you're doing there. So keep up the good work and really, I appreciate that. Mr. Smith, on a personal note, as somebody who is just passionate about development and forward progress in the city, I agree with everything that you said as well. So thank you both for that and your input tonight. And I just wanted to say that, you know, people have their own opinions on the cell phone usage, and as somebody said earlier, we are adults here and we should be expected to know not to use them up here, but the fact of the matter is it's happening. And as my item was on the agenda, it was a small blurb, was put in the Buffalo News. And I received a little bit of positive feedback from a gentleman who is affiliated with the Buffalo Coalition of Open Government. He sent me a rather lengthy email, but I am going to read the whole thing because I think it's very important, and I appreciate him taking the time out of his day to do that. So I'll just start. His name is Richard L. Heskowski is the best I'm going to go with that because it's a long Polish last name. But he said, Dear Mr. Parrish, I read with great interest a blurb that appeared in the Buffalo News a few days ago concerning the use of cell phones at city council meetings and wish to write in strong support of you and your council majority's electronic policy. During most of the 1990s, I served as a village trustee, town councilman, and deputy supervisor for my community of North Collins. Throughout my life, I have been a member and presided over a number of boards and committees, and currently serve as the chairman of the board of Emeritus of Schoolhouse Number 8, History Center and Museum in North Collins, on behalf of which I cordially extend an invitation to visit and virtually and on site. In fact, your issue has prompted me to renew my membership with the American Institute of Parliamentarians, which I believe is a great source for information and assistance on board governments, rules of procedure, issues of decorum, and the like. I have been a student of governance since 7th grade and to university graduate studies, continuing now in my semi-retirement from state and local government. As an elected governing board member without benefit of staff, I conducted my research between meetings and more intensely in the days and hours leading up to the meeting. I came prepared with notes, correspondences, manuals, and code books. I asked relevant questions of department heads, the attorney, the clerk, supervisor, etc. But most of my work was done before a formal business meeting, which was not an informational work session. I am confident that I would not need a smartphone, which I do not own, during meetings, and certainly not when I am supposed to be attentive to comments and public hearing testimony by constituents and experts. The sanctity of what transpires in the legislative or administrative session should be as important as that which occurs in laws of court, which I believe still ban use of cell phones. I have seen the use of these devices cause visitors to interrupt counselors with rings and pings and to miss what the members of the officials are saying, only to challenge them with questions that show they weren't paying attention to dissuasion and debate at the meeting. Conversely, it is rude and unprofessional for legislators, such as one or two I know of in Erie County legislator, who stare at their phones in the midst of debate or public official testimony. I have personally given audio and visual recorded testimony to a number of public bodies and recall a Buffalo Common Council member looking at his phone and texting while I was making a point on a matter on which he had legislative oversight. While still on camera and mic, I attempted to get the attention of that councilman and another member similarly enthralled with his narcissistic technology. Told me his colleague was researching my question in real time, even though they have full-time staffs to perform much of this fiction. Both of these offending members would eventually become leaders of that body. If you have ever been in the August Buffalo Common Council chambers, with its amphitheater-like design, council presidents, portraits, public servants sitting below those they serve, and the semicircular council members' desk arrangement, these are all designed to inspire awe and respect. This place is a place to listen and be listened to debate civilly using proper decorum, and to counsel together and perhaps influence the course of the city history. Smaller legislators also arrange seats so that members may look at each other and citizens not merely down at their desks or phones. We all know that the modern erosion of tradition and comedy, as well as the allowance of external and personal technology that distracts and interrupts this public discourse, actually defeats one of the fundamental purposes of a legislator or council, to represent the people by bringing diverse views to the body, which by listening together and reasoning together results in a work product or legislative solution that is far better than one executive or councilor alone could come up with. If that is not reason for a council, then why not have the absurdity of votes by text and discussion by Skype. It's because in-person deliberation means something. It meant something to the Iroquois who once occupied the land where we now sit, who in your own civil councils intuitively knew that the decision coming out of listening and counseling with one another was far superior than one war chief or another leader. Modern cognitive psychologists and spiritual teachers call this dynamic being present to the other or mindful and in the moment. Today's neuroscientists are discovering that multitasking is actually negatively affecting memory, synthesis, and analysis of information and other cognitive functioning. Simply put, when I'm speaking to somebody who is fiddling with his or her phone, I first attempt to get their attention with humor, and when that fails, I say, "Can I multitask?" I respond with, "Yeah, but I'm not a task," and I walk away rather than waste my time. So that basically ends his note, and this is from somebody who is completely not even close to affiliated with the city of North Tonawanda or our ongoings. This is somebody who read a very small blurb in the Buffalo News and is in support of it. So I thanked him, and I thank you all for listening to that.
Thank you, Matt. Mayor Arthur Pappas, any closing comments?
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lengthy email, but I thought it deserved to be read.
Yeah, absolutely. First, a thank you to all of you for attending on such a poor weather night, freezing cold with winds. It's a lot of your time, and we certainly appreciate it. I'm not going to repeat everything everyone said, but I do want to mention that when you get developers in town like Lou Vazone, and you get business people like Mr. Smith, we should be very happy, we should be very proud, and we know that when you have people like this that are expanding their businesses and then coming to town and investing the way they are, they're sincere about what they want to do. And that there's actually concrete evidence out there that they're sincere. I mean, you don't invest millions of dollars and not be sincere in what you're doing. And you don't have invested over the years, such as in Mr. Smith's case, and not be sincere and a supporter and want to be a part of this city and this community. I totally agree with both of you. I support everything you're saying and everything you're trying to do. And I'm sure the council, I can't speak for each person, but I would say that they would be supportive too. River Road, we're in a transition. We're going from an old industrial area into what we hope is going to become a beautiful boulevard someday, and be very attractive. We are working on this. I've met with Mr. Vazone a few times, Mr. Selleck. I've talked to Mr. Smith over the years. Everything they want to do is fine. It's great. And anything any business person wants to do, wants to invest in this city, which will help the community and be a benefit, not just for tax purposes, but quality of life too, we can't reject. We have to move ahead. We cannot be stuck about what happened in 1950, 1960, 1970. It doesn't matter. All we can do is go from here and move forward. And we have to be developing. We have to move forward. If you're not moving forward, you become stagnant. When you become stagnant, you die. So we have to keep moving ahead in that respect. So you have our support. We will set up these meetings. I've talked to you privately too, and we will move ahead with that. The other things with the departments, I said at the last meeting, and I really believe it is worth repeating. I have the highest regards for our department heads and the job that they are doing. The DPW over the past couple weeks with this weather and these conditions, we really got through as a community very well due to that department with Mike Zellner, Joe Aiello, and the staff there. They didn't miss a beat. Garbage was collected on time. Some communities didn't do it. Fortunately, we didn't have any terrible damage with trees. We had a couple that went down. One went through a roof of a house, but a couple went down in the city cemetery. But minor damage, mostly just limbs and so on. The power was sporadic. Our outages were sporadic. The National Grid kept me up to date through the whole thing, and all the crews are to be commended. We had them up in the air. They're not allowed to go above, I understand, 40 feet, and, over 40, or no, 60 feet, over 40-mile-an-hour winds or some such thing. So, yeah, it's just amazing what was done, and I thank all of them. Our police, I can't thank them enough for their emergency preparation and responses, our fire department, and so on. Every department head was great. On another topic, going back, and I don't like to prolong, I know it's getting late, but since we're talking parliamentary procedures, I know Luke Brown and his assistant, they're working on codes. We're looking to see what we can do to update. All this stuff takes time. We've got codes that go back years and years and years. And to go through and update and so on, it's very, very time consuming, but it is being done. And if it wasn't done in the past, we can't help it. All we can do is move ahead, and I keep saying that. That's the teacher in me, I think, repeat, repeat, repeat. But when it comes to decorum and when it comes to public speaking, I made some phone calls this past week, and I just want to point out, and you compare it with North Tonawanda. The town of Wheatfield, public gets to speak for 3 minutes, twice. 3 minutes, that's it, twice. The town of Lockport, they get to speak 5 minutes, only one time. The city of Tonawanda, they get to speak 2 times, 3 minutes each. 3 minutes. The city of Lockport, 5 minutes before the agenda and 3 minutes at the end. Amherst, you must sign up to speak, and you're limited to 3 minutes, not to exceed 1 hour for the whole group. Williamsville, 3 minutes, once in the beginning. Niagara Falls, 5 minutes, one time, and you have to sign in an hour ahead of time. Compare that to what we do in North Tonawanda, and I think that we are pretty fair because we do adjust, the chairman adjusts, and so on. So, yeah, it has been an issue.
That is not the issue. that
Excuse
we're
me, excuse me.
Let him finish. Excuse me, Alex.
That particular item has not been an issue tonight, but it goes along with the quorum, and it goes along with what's been said and what we've been accused of, cutting people off or not allowing them time to speak. But I think it gives you some idea of what other communities do. And by New York state law, the public doesn't even have to be given a right to speak. Now, I don't agree with that, but that is the law. Am I correct, Luke?
Yes, you're correct.
All right, so compare some of that with North Tonawanda, and I think that you'll find that we are pretty fair with our speaking, public speaking. Thank you to all for being here. We appreciate your long attendance in this weather. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, Art. That was very, very well said. And I'm just gonna mention a few things. I'm not gonna belabor anything. But, we appreciate the speakers that come forward. We just appreciate what you have to say. We just ask, again, that you be respectful of people in the audience who want to speak, and then just stick to your time. Some of you are speaking for 2 different times. I don't know, I think we followed this, I just recently got something about open government. And I went through the checklist and they said, do you want to put a resolution forth to talk about open government? And will you say that you'll do the following things? Every single one of those things that they sent me on the email, we already do it. So I mean, if I want to put a resolution forward to say, we're doing it, we're taping the meetings, we're doing a before the agenda and an after discussion. If you want me to put a resolution forward saying we're doing what we're doing, but it sounds like they're trying to tell us that this is what they want to see in the municipalities. If we're already doing it, if somebody else has some other form of transparency or some other form of open government that I'm unaware of, I'd like to hear from you, even after the meeting. But my point is, if those things are there to set the standard or to make suggestions, we're already doing those things. So, I think that's a good step in the right direction. It's a step for the council, for the mayor, and it's a step in the right direction for the residents. And as we go forward with this policy, we'll be adhering to the 5 minutes, and we'll be adhering to the second 5 minutes. If someone speaks, we will pause it. If someone is answering a question, we'll follow the protocol. We've been a little loose, and I see it get a little out of control. And as the council president, I want to keep these meetings smooth, efficient, and interactive, but yet, let's keep them within order. And I don't think that that's always the case, and I apologize because we're not going to keep doing that. We need to keep it back on track. Effective meetings and effective communication is what really needs to happen here. Not shouting out from the audience, not taking someone else's turn. With that, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for all of your comments. Lou, I can speak to you at the end.
I just have to say one thing, out of all the governments that I've dealt with, Buffalo, Amherst, Clarence, Williamsville, this government is probably the most approachable and does, lend,
Thank you.
listening ear, 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to hear. Nobody has ever, shut me out personally, not because of who I am or what I'm doing. Very easy to talk to and very easy to get advice from, right from the building department, getting Kaz and Rob, to everybody sitting up there. I think I've had a chance to sit in everybody's office at one point or the other. And we really appreciate that. And you're doing a great job, so thank you.
You'll be seeing more of that, so thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Students can come up,
Meeting is
get your
adjourned.
signatures. Get sign over here.
I can take some.
Sorry about that.
I know that they all do. They approach us about increasing the waiver. They approach us about increasing the waiver. They get more members of city insurance. That they survey to see how many people are interested in that. Based on that survey, we were able to come up with a sliding scale where it's anticipated the city can save up to almost $200,000 number of police officers coming off.
Thank you for all your work.
I think currently it's 9. They're expecting at least another 6 to join on. And there's a potential. There was the numbers in the chart. Let me find it. Anticipated that they're going to have at least 6 more join. There's going to be 14. There's potential to up to 23.